Good Thursday afternoon. Hope you are doing well. Today is day 21 of the Omer, Yom Echad V'Esrim Yom, Shem Shlosha Shavuos LaOmer. When you study Tanakh, it is important to know Pshat, the simple meaning of the verse. At times, you're going to turn to rabbinic sources like the Talmud or a Midrash, and they're going to share with you insight into the verse, not to give you the basic meaning of the text, but rather to share an idea. So today we're going to focus on a verse and a rabbinic reading into it. It is a verse that appears in chapter 144, Kuf Mem Daled of Tehillim. And David HaMelech talks about Alufenu. Alufenu. The most basic reading is our oxen. They are misubalim. They are ones that could carry a load. And ein peretz, they don't go ahead and breach the walls. They stick to their responsibility. Now, the rabbis understand that these alufenu relates to our leaders. Our alufim, our leaders. And they carry a load. There's a load that they carry. And based on that comes the great Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan tells us, you should know, that if you want to avoid a peretz, a pirza, a breach, you know how you avoid it? If you have alufenu, that our leaders, our alufim, are misubalim, that we, the ones who are less than them, we, the ones who follow those leaders. In his words, if the ktanim sovlim et agdolim, if those who are not as great as these Torah leaders carry the burden, and feel the fact that we have the responsibility of following the teachings of these great authorities, then in peretz, that's how we are going to avoid, in his words, a magefa, a plague. Rav Yochanan seems to recommend that to avoid a plague, we listen to the words of our alufim, of our great leaders. Now, Rish Lakish, a colleague and a student of Rav Yochanan, has a different reading. And he says to Rav Yochanan, I read it the other way around. I believe that we have to have gdolim, we have to have great people who are sovlim et aktanim. In other words, the great people are the alufim. They have to carry the load of the small people. They have to understand what the small, in other words, the masses, they have to be sensitive to the masses. They have to be concerned for the welfare of the masses. They cannot go ahead and establish laws and decrees that overwhelm the masses, because then they are not carrying the burden. And if that occurs, if our gdolim sovlim et aktanim, the result is going to be, there's not going to be a peretz, a breach, and we're going to have an end to the galut. This is a dialogue between Rabbi Yochanan, the master, and Rish Lakish. And obviously, it's recommended that we follow both. At this time, when we turn to the Almighty in prayer, that this magefa, that this plague should come to an end, we're asking not just for an end and a return to the norm. We want to return to something better, to have an end of the galut, a return to the land of Israel where we belong with what is ours. Therefore, we have to follow the words of Rav Yochanan and Rish Lakish. And therefore, we have the responsibility of following the Gdolim, the great authorities, the Alufim, and at the same time have an expectation that those who carry a responsibility for others do their part and carry the burden of the masses. We have to have Ktanim Sovlim et Gdolim, and also we have to have Gdolim who are Sovlim et Haktanim. That's what we have to do. And at this time, I would like to make a recommendation. It's a recommendation not to the Gdolim, but to us, to the ones who follow these great rabbinic leaders. If you listen on the radio during this period of time, people are talking about what they are accomplishing at home. In other words, what series they're following on Netflix, or what ball games that they missed they're able to go ahead and watch now. We should have for ourselves goals as well. There should be, every individual should really take it upon themselves that there's something they study, that they complete during this coronavirus. And it should be a COVID-19 yeshiva. In other words, every individual should say, I want to complete something. And it doesn't have to be big. It could be, my goal is to have a better understanding of Pirkei Avot, during this period of time. Or it could be an area of Jewish law, something that we feel that we do every single day, even for a few minutes, that then eventually, Be'ezrat Hashem, years from now, we could share insight and we could declare, I have knowledge of this field of Jewish law or of Jewish thought or this section of Tanakh due to the fact that during COVID-19, I put time and energy. This is a recommendation that we could do the Ktanim, and hopefully we'll merit indeed to put an end, that there should be no longer a peretz, a pirza, that this terrible plague should come to an end. We do not see right now how suddenly it's going to vanish, but we do know very well that there's a higher being that could work things out. That's what we pray for. And let's also pray that this pirza called Galut comes to an end, that Klal Yisrael should merit to return to their land with the Binyan Bet HaMikdash, with Biat Mashiach Tzidkenu, and we could be that light upon the nations and to share with them what we know is Judaism is about appreciation. Let's appreciate the world, and especially after we get back to what is called norm, after there's health and after there's security and after there's prosperity, we could turn to humanity and say, let's appreciate what we have. Compare it to those days that you couldn't leave home. Compare it to the days that going to the supermarket was a challenging endeavor. Compare it to the days when we had to worry about our health and the health of people we love. Compare it to the days when we cannot interact with those we love. We're going to go ahead and fulfill our mission to the fullest. Be'ezrat Hashem. For now, let's continue being optimistic, taking care of ourselves, and wish everyone a wonderful day. Bye-bye.